What was Confederate parole at Appomattox? What exactly was Confederate parole at Appomattox? This term refers to the formal process that took place when soldiers of the Confederate Army of Northern Virginia surrendered to Union General Ulysses S. Grant on April 9, 1865. After this significant event, these soldiers were officially released to return home, but under specific conditions. The parole was essentially a written certificate or pass. It identified a Confederate soldier as having surrendered and granted him permission to travel home without interference from United States authorities. However, this was contingent on the soldier observing the terms of the parole and obeying the laws of his home state. The parole system was part of the generous terms of surrender that aimed to promote healing and reconciliation between the North and South after the Civil War. Under these terms, Confederate soldiers had to surrender their weapons. However, they were allowed to keep their horses or mules, which were essential for farming and transportation. Additionally, they received food rations to help meet their immediate needs after the hardships of the campaign. To make the parole process smoother, General Grant arranged 4 parole passes to be printed at Appomattox Court House. These passes served as official documents that Confederate soldiers could show if they were stopped while returning home. This way, they could prove they had surrendered and were protected from arrest or harassment. The language used in the parole was straightforward, offering amnesty for political offenses related to the war. This clarity and generosity helped many Confederate soldiers accept their defeat with dignity. It also eased their reintegration into the United States. The parole was not merely a military formality, it held symbolic significance. For many Confederate veterans, possessing an Appomattox parole was a mark of their loyalty to their cause, even in defeat. It represented an honorable closure to their service and a legal assurance that they would not face punishment for their participation in the war. In essence, the Confederate parole at Appomattox was a key element of the surrender terms. It allowed Confederate soldiers to return home safely, unarmed, and with official recognition of their status as surrendered soldiers. This process reflected the Union's intention, guided by President Abraham Lincoln's principles, to end the conflict with leniency and foster national reunification rather than continued hostility.